This was an insane deal. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. So I'm tidying up my workspace, making it nice and clean, because when you work in tight quarters, when it gets messy, you just can't function. During that process, I happened to check Reverb, and this thing popped up. It's a Gibson SG Standard, 1976, nice walnut natural finish. $2,500? I mean, that's not too bad if it's truly excellent condition. So I was on my phone while busting the dust, scrolling through these photos, and I go, that's kind of an interesting case that this thing has. But then we looked at the headstock, everything's looking okay. It's got some light scratches, a little bit of light yellowing to the lacquer, nothing out of the ordinary. The truss rod cover looks a little strange. Got your small block inlays. This is the rosewood fretboard with the binding. Personally, I really like the Ebony unbound versions. Seeing as this was listed as a 76, I didn't expect it to have that. The frets still seem to have some life to it. Yeah, you've got a little bit of a seam line showing or something right there. Maybe not the best match top. You've got the quirky 70s specs, meaning you'll likely have the super humbucking tarback pickups that'll read about 5 and 7K ohms within the circuit. Harmonica bridge, no fancy vibrolas. You've got the 61 style kind of pickguard. A little bit more blocky horns that the 70s are known for. They're not as aesthetically pleasing as the 60s, if that's what you grew up with, but the first SG I ever saw was actually a 70s version, so I've always had a soft spot for these. But then when we flipped it over to the back, you can really tell this piece just does not look good on that guitar. The grain doesn't match at all, but you got all this beautiful ringiness over here, and this piece matches incredibly well. Too well. Did they really just slice this piece and offset it? Because if you would just push that up a little bit, it almost looks like it would match up perfectly. The Norland years were an interesting one, but you've got some nicks and dings back here. It's one of the cool ones that actually says SG Standard from the decal era. So that's late 1975 until early 1977. You've got your really nice Gibson Schaller branded tuners, stock and original. That's one thing that the later 70s ones has over the early 70s. The neck has got a little bit of wear, but thankfully no breaks, cracks, or repairs. For whatever reason, 70s SGs, they get played hard. But it's this photo when I go, oh, I know why that case looks strange. That's the case I need for my Ebony Block SG. It's got the correct latches. It's got the Gibson logo on it. It's got the alligator exterior. Then I had to come down to the description. It's advertised as the original case. Unfortunately, this guy made a blunder, and this sold within 20 minutes. This is an early 60s Gibson SG case. That thing's worth like $1,200, give or take. I was in the market for one last year to restore my guitar, and I just ended up going for like a cheaper, I think I paid like $500 for a slightly later version because I didn't really want to spend another $1,000 on a case. So this was one of the most screaming deals I've seen in a while, because if you take $1,000 out of your price, that's like $1,500 for a really clean 76 SG. Unfortunately, I wasn't thinking, and I decided to make an offer instead of just buy it now, because I was in cleaning mode, not buying guitar mode. And I thought, surely no one else is gonna notice that case, and no, so somebody noticed that case, and they paid him the money, and good on them for doing that. So a blunder on the seller's part, and a big L for me. I would have loved to have had that 76 SG in my collection, and I could just, swap the cases, because if I remember correctly, I think that's what my Ebony Block SG originally came with, was an early 70s case that would have kind of matched this guitar. And it would have had an interesting story in my collection, but not today. This email always hurts me the most. It's not it being declined, it's when you have this message attached to it. This listing has been purchased. They didn't type that, that's just Reverb's, yeah, someone else beat you to it, bud. But next up in our journey tonight, I wanted to call out that Gibson is having a kind of a charity auction, where all the profits from the sold items will benefit the Crossroads Center at Antigua, which is a treatment and educational facility founded by Eric Clapton for chemically dependent people. That auction takes place on December 8th, which is a Friday. So first up for sale, we've got a signed up to Wazoo Les Paul Custom from 2022. Now, a lot of times these scribble guitars can look unwieldy and not that good, but I don't know, there's something about this one. The silver Sharpie that they used complements it. Or maybe it's just because the lighting with the gold hardware looks kind of washed out. But essentially the story goes, all the backstage artists at this Crossroads festival signed this guitar. So you might have some people in here that you enjoy, and other ones are kind of hard to read. I like the guy who signed it on the edge. Had to be a rebel. Surprised somebody didn't try to get cheeky and sign it under the pickguard. But apparently there's names like Peter Asher, Joe Bonamassa, James Bullard, Gary Clark Jr., Sheryl Crow, Albert Lee, Los Lobos, cool, and all these other ones if you'd like to read them. But it looks like we were able to catch some in-the-process photos, which is always important when you have an artist signing thing. Although with the very reputable source where this one comes from, it's not quite as needed. But trust me, on these auction sites, definitely do a little bit of your own research if they don't have stuff like this, because it's not always 100% vetted. But hey, wait a minute, hold the phone. Where'd the signatures go? I'm very confused. Is that an accident or are you buying 2 guitars? Because here's the backside. It's got the 70th anniversary medallion, but please, please do not think there's actually a 70th anniversary Les Paul custom. They all had that. But our serial number dates to 2022. But I highly doubt they had the foresight to send this to Heritage Auctions to take this photo before they got it signed. But who knows, maybe they did. But currently this one is bid up to $3,100. Here was another Gibson donated piece, the Flower Power carve top. This is one of Rickie's earlier ones, who's the current custom carver of the Gibson Custom Shop. This is one that he carved on site at the Crossroads Guitar Festival in 2019. I mean, let's be real here. He had limited time to do this. I don't think he did too bad. Definitely captured our theme. That's a signature right there if you're looking for a Rickie Hinrichsen piece. I like how it's got the aged gold hardware to it. And who knows, maybe he did some final touches after the fact. And then they threw the butterfly inlays on here, which you can find those on a few models. That's nothing necessarily special to this one, but this piece looks way better from this angle. Love that dark natural mahogany. And then when we flip it over to the back, we've got some more nice looking grain and a 5-piece maple neck, looking pretty snazzy, with a serial number of CS Crossroads 1. This is one I'm really curious, where's it gonna get bid at? Because you gotta remember, this is a charity auction, so this is where things can get really crazy. You're likely not gonna get a deal on any of these. But I thought it was cool to get to see the COA. I haven't seen one of these before. I really wish I could have documented his teacup Les Paul. That's my favorite one that Rickie's done. But next up, live at the Regal, #1. Signed and played by Joe Bonamassa, BB King signature. This particular one was donated by Guitar Center in Joe Bonamassa's name. Wonder how that works tax-wise. Joe's a cool guy. I don't think his ownership and signing it really adds much value to this particular piece, but adds to the story. For me, it's all about it being #1, which is really cool. Like, if you're gonna own one of these, you might as well own this one. These did not sell well for Gibson at all. Nobody wanted to buy my review piece. I still have it. If anybody's interested, I'll give you a good deal. And I get it, it's not what he was really known for. The only special part is the capped off tailpiece studs with the mother of pearl inlays, but I thought it was a cool release. I liked the finish that they had on it. But I'll be interested to see what this one sells for at a charity auction because, again, if you're gonna have one of these, you kinda want this one because that's a significant number. And it looks like he signed the case for you too. Thought this was another interesting donation, a tour for 4 of the Gibson Garage, the custom shop, and the artist showroom in Nashville, Tennessee. So as far as I'm aware, public tours are not a thing unless you've got a big YouTube channel or you know somebody. So the fact that money can get you into the custom shop is kind of a unique opportunity, you know, outside of buying the $50K Greeny when they decide to offer that event. I'm really curious to see how much that's worth to somebody. I mean, again, you got to remember this is a charity auction, so it's not a good way to gauge that. But do you think this will raise like 10 grand? We'll see. It's currently bid up to $1,050. Obviously, you're going to get to see the vault, you get the bursts and all the other good stuff. But if you like the weird, wacky, other oddball things, maybe you consider taking the tour of my private museum for the 70s and 80s weird stuff. And then we'll kind of lightning round some of the other guitars that are also in this. Like we've got a Gary Clark Jr. played and signed 65 SG Special. This is another one donated by Guitar Center in his name. So, okay. They must have got to go to a Guitar Center and pick something out that they thought was special and then they would donate it. That makes more sense now. I like his choice here. That's a really cool SG Special because it's got some heritage in and of itself. Even if you're not a fan of his work, that's just a cool guitar anyway. I can see that being bid up a lot. There's a Clapton Stratocaster prototype, multicolored. Oh yeah, that's getting bid up. I'm happy for it. Gives me surf vibes personally. Cool, matching back. There's also a 2007 Fender, Mexican made with a whole bunch of signatures. Brand new Kingfish Telly, signed by the man himself. I like the headstock on that one. We reviewed that model in this episode if you'd like to check it out. Here's a Sheryl Crow signed Telly. The Crash Eric Clapton Stratocaster, another one getting bid up a lot. I can see why this one has more bids so far. I like that design better. Alexander Dumble's personal 2000 Fender Telecaster. I thought that name sounded familiar. Yeah, that is the Dumble guy. It's the Tele he used to test those iconic amps. I like the wood grain on it. And here's what the back looks like. And a Jimmy Ray Vaughan Stratocaster. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.